Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be covering the basics of the Moonshiner role, one of the 5 roles currently available for purchase in Red Dead Online. Moonshiner was added after the initial 3 roles dropped in Frontier Pursuits and was meant to be a sort of expansion on the trader role, as the requirements for purchasing it were that you were at least a rank 5 trader. You can bypass this requirement by paying 5 gold bars. To get started with the Moonshiner role, you'll need to visit Maggie Fike at Emerald Ranch. You'll be taken into a cutscene where you're introduced to Maggie, and at the end of the cutscene, you'll have the option to choose a shack location and purchase the role for 25 gold bars. Your shack location options are the Bayou, Grizzlies, Hennigan's Stead, Heartlands, and Tall Trees. Best shack location is a matter of personal preference. You want to consider a few things such as access to town, fast travel if you don't have the wilderness camp fast travel, hunting, nearby players, and ease of deliveries. I personally find the deliveries for Grizzlies, Hennigan's Stead, and Heartlands to be long and windy through narrow roads, and I think it's really easy to break bottles on these deliveries. But I know a lot of people who really like the Heartlands because it's close to good hunting for the trader role. I would recommend you start with either Tall Trees or the Bayou. You can always change your shack location later for $250, so you're not locked into your first choice. Tall Trees is my personal favorite as it's super close to the fast travel at Manzanita, there's really good hunting in the plains, and the deliveries are all fairly easy. There can be a lot of players near Blackwater, so this is the only drawback, but I rarely lose a wagon due to player interference. Once you've chosen your shack location, you can travel to the location where Maggie's going to give you 2 missions to get the role started. You need to rescue the new cook Marcel, and you need to steal supplies. Once you've completed these 2 missions, you're going to be able to get started making moonshine. So let's create some moonshine. You're going to go down to the basement of the shack, and Marcel is going to show you the equipment and give you the lowdown on creating moonshine. To start up a batch, you're going to walk up to the table, hit triangle if you're on PlayStation, select Moonshine Still Mash Required, and choose your moonshine. The mash price is $50, but can be reduced if you do bootleg and story missions. When you first start with the role, you'll only have access to weak moonshine, and it's going to take 30 minutes to complete 20 bottles. You'll be able to upgrade your equipment at rank 5 to gain access to the average moonshine, which will take 45 minutes, and again at rank 10 to access strong moonshine, which will take 60 minutes. After rank 15, it'll take 24 minutes for weak moonshine, 36 for average, and 48 for strong. Here's where it gets interesting, and you can go about it in 2 different ways. 1, you can immediately flavor your moonshine by picking from a buyer that is currently requesting moonshine. Once this is done, you can leave your shack and go do other activities while Marcel works on that batch. 2, you can look at the amount of time until the next buyer reset. If buyers reset after your batch will finish, add the flavor. If the buyers reset before your batch finishes, you could hold off and not flavor it. If you flavor the moonshine, it is possible that when the buyers reset, your chosen flavor won't have a buyer, meaning that you're going to have to either wait and try to wait another hour or so to see if another buyer comes up, or sell to Bert Higgins for a much lower price. If you leave it unflavored, you're going to want to set a timer for when the buyers reset, and then make sure you come back to the shack to flavor your moonshine with a buyer that is requesting something at that time. But you have to do this before your moonshine finishes, because if the moonshine finishes before you add the flavor, you're only going to be able to sell a Bert again because you have unflavored moonshine, and again, you're going to get it for a much lower price. I personally just flavor it because I get busy in the game and I'm not necessarily going to remember to go back to the shack to add flavoring. And I usually only do Poison Poppy Moonshine, which is a pamphlet that you can pick up at a dynamic moonshine event in free roam, or Berry Cobbler, which is a pretty easy one with simple ingredients to do. Those 2 recipes almost always have a buyer. You will start out with a couple of recipes, and as you rank up and complete story missions, you're going to gain access to even more recipes to choose from. One thing you can do is add these recipes to your log by pressing triangle when you're on the recipe after going to flavoring. Then you can access your log by clicking left on the D-pad, and it's going to tell you what ingredients you need to collect for these recipes and how many you actually have. For example, Evergreen Moonshine takes 1 Evergreen Huckleberry, 1 Wintergreen Berry, and 1 Ginseng. Having these recipes in the log can be helpful so that when you're out in free roam, you'll know which items that you need to pick up. Now, the good thing about Moonshine is that after you start one up, Marcel does all the work. Unlike Trader, where you need to be actively filling camp and doing resupply missions, Marcel doesn't require anything from you. That's why I say it's a really good passive income, because while your moonshine is producing, you can actually go out and do other things in the game. I recommend that you start by doing a bootleg mission just so you can lower the cost of your mash. Keep in mind there is a cooldown, so you can't do one right after the other. But after you do that, you can do things like dailies, bounties, stranger missions, you can collect, you can hunt and work on the trader role, lots of things that you can do. Keep in mind, a few things will stop your moonshine from producing, such as being in someone else's posse, moonshine and regular story missions, showdowns, legendary bounties, and legendary animal sightings. Basically, any activity that takes you out of free roam is going to stop, just like the trader role, it's going to stop your moonshine from producing. You can access the bootleg missions by going upstairs and speaking to Maggie, and you can also encounter them in free roam. There's different types of moonshine missions, such as taking out a roadblock of revenue agents, poisoning a rival's moonshine, escorting a drunk NPC, or my personal favorite, getting into a bar fight. As with other roles, there are different skills, items, and cosmetics that you're going to unlock as you progress through the ranks. As you rank up, you'll gain access to different recipes, an ingredients and material satchel upgrade, allowing you to carry more of these items in your satchel. And at rank 15, like I mentioned, you receive the ability to reduce the time it takes to create a batch of moonshine. You'll also unlock new clothes, emotes, the Ivor's saddle, which I actually really like the look of, flammable moonshine, the sawed-off shotgun variant, which I love, and the roll horse, the Norfolk Roadster, which I'll talk about in a minute. Of course, two really important items you unlock along the way are the condenser upgrade at rank 5 that costs $825 and allows you to produce average moonshine, and the polished copper upgrade at rank 10 for $875, allowing you to produce strong moonshine. Purchase these upgrades. You're going to make your money back in no time. You can purchase them by going to Maggie upstairs and selecting Moonshiner Store. Also in the Moonshine Store, you can purchase items like Flammable Moonshine, Toxic Moonshine, and the Toxic Moonshine Pamphlet, the Bar and Band expansion, bar decor, which I don't recommend unless you have a lot of gold because they're really expensive and it's purely cosmetic. You can also purchase photos, which again, you don't really need either. There is a Moonshine Daily that says that you need to change your bar decor in order to get that daily. Changing the photo actually works. So as long as you have 2 photos, you can complete that daily. No need to spend 10 plus gold on the bar decor. The Bar and Band expansion are purely for fun and hanging out with friends. They don't bring you in any money. They do allow you to complete Moonshine Dailies, which will give you gold, such as serving players at the bar, dancing or playing with the band, or having a drunken player interaction. But these expansions are really just to have a lot of fun with your friends. If you like to chill and hang out, you can go down to the bar, get drunk, slap each other around, hug each other, dance or play with the band. You can really just laugh and have a good time. I've had some really great times down there, but it's like just for fun. It's not really necessary for the role. All right, let's talk about the Norfolk Roadster, probably my favorite breed in the game, aside from the Black Arabian. So I'm going to try to keep this short because I really love this horse and I could go on and on about it. At rank 1, you can purchase the Black and Speckled Gray Roadsters. You can note that even at level 4 bond, the health is very low. The rank 10 horses are only slightly better, and even at rank 20, health is lower than all other roll horses. I use the rank 1 Roadsters all the time, and I recommend using the ability card Ride Like the Wind. At tier 3, whenever you take or deal damage while mounted, a large portion of it is added to your horse's health and stamina. And this can really make a big difference when you're trying to capture a bounty or clearing a revenue agents at a roadblock. At rank 10, you can purchase the Piebald Roan and Rose Gray Norfolk, and at rank 20, you can purchase the Dappled Buckskin and Spotted Tricolor. I personally love the horse's movement, the way it looks, the temperament, and while I do believe temperament to be random, I rarely get a roadster that doesn't have a really good temperament, other than one Piebald Roadster on my PC account that was literally afraid of its own shadow. It was actually hilarious. I wish I had captured footage of what it was doing. Their handling and agility are great, stamina and speed are excellent. The only negative is the health, which again isn't as much of a problem as it could be, especially if you're using Ride Like the Wind. Okay, so your moonshine batch is ready for delivery. Head back down to Marcel, select your moonshine, and look for a buyer. Hopefully you have a buyer who is available so you can get the full value out of the batch. If the only buyer available is Bird Higgins, you have a couple of choices. You can wait to see if a buyer does become available. If the buyer resets in, anywhere from 0 to 15 minutes, it might not be a bad idea to wait and see. What I recommend, though, is just selling to Bert, especially if you have more than 15-minute wait. You'll get way less money, but if you wait and wait and wait for a buyer to become available, you could have made more money just by selling to Bert and then restarting another batch of moonshine. Again, I do recommend the Poison Poppy or Berry Cobbler moonshine, as they almost always always have a buyer available. Once you select the buyer, Marcel will talk for way too long, and then eventually you're going to spawn out on your wagon. Just a note here, if you have the trader role, don't deliver a trader wagon and then come and try and do a moonshine sale. You're going to almost always black screen. Instead, do your moonshine sale first and then do your trader delivery. Now, when you go to start delivering this wagon, keep in mind the bottles break really freaking easily. You must stay on the road, don't take any shortcuts, go slow when going up and down ramps or across water, be really careful with rocks in the road, NPCs, really anything that can hit the wagon. I like to aim my gun, take my finger off the left joystick to the wagon so that it'll auto drive, but you also need to be careful doing this, and you have to still go slower and keep your eye out. You can also go into cinematic mode, but again, bottles can still get broken, so you do need to be careful. At some point during the delivery, you're going to come across a roadblock of revenue agents. They're going to either wave you through, tell you to stop, inspect the wagon, then wave you through, or tell you to stop, inspect the wagon, and start shooting at you. They can damage the moonshine with bullets and with dynamite that they throw, so keep that in mind. Generally, if they tell me to stop, I'm going to get off the wagon and I'm going to kill them all before going through because I don't want them to start shooting and ruin my moonshine. You're also then going to have to keep an eye out for revenue agents that are going to start chasing you down, so just make sure, again, you aim your gun so the wagon is auto-driving as you kill the revenue agents, or have friends with you that can kill them at that point. Even one broken bottle is going to subtract a significant disproportionate amount off your earnings, so be really careful. There you have it, all the basics of the moonshine role. I'm sure I probably missed some details, such as if you're drunk in your moonshine shack and you need to sober up, you can eat the snacks off the bar or walk over to the water barrel next to your way out and splash your face. But if you're watching this video and have any tips I may have missed or guidance for people new to the role, please leave a comment below. If you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you give it a like. And if you're enjoying the content, I do live stream Red Dead almost every day of the week on YouTube. I'd love it if you stopped by and said hi sometime. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.